Well, the power's out, and that's not good because the generator, well, not the generator, what am I thinking of? I can't make the video. We got a generator down there, but we're not using. I think we're about to go to Waffle House, and I got to delay the video production because of all this. Just came out this morning. I don't know what the deal is. There's no really obvious reason why the power's out, so that's sad. I'm kind of disappointed. Hello YouTube, it's Russell Steele here, and today I'm going to show you how to make a little cinematic scene, if I may call it that. You see this all the time. It's in TV shows, it's in reviews that you see on YouTube, it's in just anything that kind of cinematic. You'll see this in everything. I most often see this kind of stuff in Top Gear, you know, the show, which by now is way better than Top Gear, the Grand Tour, which is basically Top Gear only with Jeremy James and Richard Hammond in it and all that. I'm getting a little bit off topic here. I love that show. But creating a cinematic scene can really add some value to your videos because it shows that you kind of know how to make a video, or I don't know, it just looks really cool. So I'm going to show you how to create it. If you saw my other video, it's basically just a little basic scene on my bike. I just wanted to film something. Basically, the point was it was a cinematic scene. And to do this, it's actually not that hard. One key thing to doing it is movement. You want movement. Get a tripod with a fluid head, get sliders, get all kinds of gear. But most of my movement wasn't actually done with any of those. Most of my movement was actually done with my Spider Steady shoulder rig, which I used to film the movements. And then I used warp stabilizer in post for most of the shots to even stabilize it even more into a much more stable shot. This has advantages and disadvantages when, you know, doing this with the shoulder rig and handheld, especially when it can fold like that. The advantages are, well, you can obviously get a little bit more versatile shots because you don't have to set up a slider or do a tripod head, which can only get so many kinds of shots. This you can really get some unique shots with it. And also, this is way more affordable and way more practical than using any of those because it's less gear to carry and there's less gear to buy. But there are disadvantages. One, it's not going to be nearly as smooth. I had to use warp stabilizer in post, including the fact that I have image stabilization on my lens and the shoulder rig is stable itself. So that's three things that kind of gave it stability, and even that was a little bit unstable here and there. So it's not perfect, obviously, in terms of stability and movement. And it's also just not the most natural thing to use. Usually you would use tripods and stuff, and it's going to be a lot more meant to do that. Tripods and fluid heads and sliders are meant for those kind of movements. This is not. So there are different sides to that, but that's really all I had, to be honest. I do not have a slider yet, nor do I have a fluid head. I do have a fluid head, but it's a little Gorilla Pod. It's not on my main tripod, but I do need to get a fluid head for my tripod, as well as it would be cool to have a slider. But other than that, the shots actually turned out pretty well, in my opinion. I did like lots of the shots. One of the most challenging shots to get was the shot of it kind of going in on the bike. And that was challenging because that really screamed slider, which I did not have, and that's really hard to do on something like that. So that took at least like 8 takes to do. So around like maybe 8 to 10 takes to get that right. And that sucked up my camera battery completely, but eventually it did turn out fine. I just stuck with one shot that looked smooth enough, and I was like, yeah, and it turned out pretty well in post. I did actually 2 of those kind of shots. And then there was the shot where it was kind of at the end. That was a challenge because I was the only one filming and the one on the bike. So I literally had to just press record on my camera, leave it on a tripod there, go to my bike, go down the hill or whatever I was doing, come back up, and stop record. So very tedious in terms of those shots. But those shots can add some real value to the video, especially if they're action. It really can demonstrate the feel, especially in the editing, which I'll get to in a second, but the feel of your shots. There can be different things. It could be something around maybe using it or anything. If you're doing a product, like if you see a product review, you'll see lots of cinematic scenes with different movement and stuff, then you'll find them use it in the public or anything. It can be anything. Just think of anything after those kind of those intro shots, because lots of times you'll see those shots going on videos to show something, and then they'll show you further. Like on the bike, it was showing you further how, because I was riding it. So it's really not very specific when it comes to what kind of shots you can get in terms of how you film the scene. And then let me get to some editing and post-production details about this. The music you use can be key to getting the feel you want for the shots you want, because the music can really just put the feel. And it's the same thing with every kind of video or film. Happy music's going to make it feel happy, serious music's going to make it feel more serious and intense. I personally kind of wanted to make it more epic sounding music, so that's what I put in there. It really did help the look. I mean, just look at some of these clips differently depending on what music they have.
Never gonna give you up. I'm never gonna let you go. Never gonna say goodbye. No.
Click, clack, bullet. Click, clack.
Really changes the look. And also color correction. I personally just went with the saturation boost and stuff, but the temperature was fine, it felt good. I personally was happy with the colors I got, but if you want to make it more dark, you could turn it to maybe blue, or make it more, I don't know, intense, maybe more of a red, I don't know, orange, red. So it really can depend on the look of the footage and then the sound of the footage. You don't even necessarily have to add music, especially if it's over a dialogue like this one. So yeah, many things you can do with this kind of shooting. It's actually really basic. You don't need that much equipment to do this. Some essentials do apply, like a tripod, obviously, but other than that, you can actually get something like this done very easily. And it really doesn't depend on the camera you have to get this image. It's really, how do you film it? Do you want to make it seem more cold or dark? Then you do it maybe more blue tones and sad music. But if you want to make it feel epic and orchestral, like maybe boost the saturation up a bit, let the colors pop, and also add some really awesome music to it, and make it your own. So that's my tips on giving that kind of shots. So hope you, oh gosh, dang it. Oh, hold on for a second.